there's a question here for you, and then it gives you instructions. So I'm going to give you 5 minutes to do this. Okay, we're only working with this top ruler. You see I have a star and an arrow there. I'm going to show you what you're going to do real quick. So first of all, do you know all of the measurement lines on a ruler? You don't have to tell me. Just yes, no, yes. Okay, some of you feel confident, and I see yeses. I see some no's. I see some I'm not sure's. Okay, so we're going to use the top ruler. So this is the top ruler to mark the ones you know. So you're going to mark the lines that you know only till the second line past the 1, because I'm only going to give you 5 minutes. If in 5 minutes you go past that, that's fine. But this is what I'm expecting to see at a later time when I have you posted on Padlet that you did it. We will mark the bottom ruler together, okay? This information is going to show up on your final for the quarter, so you want to make sure that you do know how to read the ruler after today's lesson. So the first thing I want you to do is start right here where the star is. Start with this line right here. What is this line? And then give me each of the measurements for each of the lines all the way to the second line past the 1. Okay? If you don't know, just guess. Guess, or if you know some of them, put in some of the measurements. Okay? Do your best. For right now, it's okay if it's wrong. It's okay if it's wrong. No big deal. Okay? You're going to have 5 minutes to do it. Okay? So at 11:25, we're going to do the bottom one together. Don't do the bottom one yet. We're going to do the bottom one together. Today what we're going to do before we use our ruler is learn how to use the tool. So my purpose behind having you look at the top ruler and put in the fractions without my help is to see how much you know before I teach you. And some of you may have gone into it thinking, yeah, I know how to read a ruler. And then when it comes down to it, do you truly know how to read a ruler and understand measurements when you need to? Some of you are like, absolutely. And some of you are like, I thought I did, but not really. Good. So let's get into it. Your ruler, take a look at the actual ruler that you have in front of you. Some rulers start with the 0 on the far left edge, which is the edge of the ruler. You can see that your 0 starts right here. It doesn't have a 0, but the 0 mark is the line that is next to the word inch. Okay, so your 0 mark is this line right here. So the reason why I point that out is so when we're measuring, that's where you start the measurement from, not the edge of the ruler. The edge of the ruler is about 1/8 of an inch away from the actual start of the ruler. The start of the ruler for this ruler, this particular ruler that I gave you, is this long line that starts off the ruler. That is the 0, okay? So again, depending on the ruler that you're using or measuring tape that you're using, you're going to have to find 0 first before you begin. So this first line down here is 0, okay? That first line there is 0. How many lines, how many measurement lines do I have between 0 and 1? Does anybody know?
16.
Yes, very good. So we have 16 lines. Angelica, that was you, right? Very good. So we have 16 lines. So we understand that if we're talking about 1 of 16 total, that becomes a fraction, right? If I'm talking about 1 slice of pizza in 16 slices of pizza, we're talking about 1/16 of the pizza being eaten or taken. Same idea. So if I'm using this one line out of the 16, then this one line, the first line, is going to be the measurement of 1/16. Okay, you're following along with me, writing on your ruler on the bottom, just like I'm writing on mine. Some kids were confused last period. They thought they were just watching. You're watching and writing. Do what I do here. The next line that we have, this second line, would be 2/16, right? It's the second line, so it'd be 2/16. Now, what did we learn in math with a fraction that says that's like this, right? I don't remember what they're called, but they need to be reduced or simplified, right? Albert, go ahead.
It's a 1/8.
Yes, 1/8. Very good. So when we reduce it, we divide 2 into both the top and the bottom, right? And then we get 1/8. So you know when you guys are taking those tests and they ask you like, is 5/16 bigger than, I don't know, 1/4? And you get really confused because of that 16, it seems like it would be bigger, right? But in 5/16 it is not bigger. It is smaller than 1/4, or 1/2, I should say. You'll see. Okay, 3/16, can I simplify that? No. Okay, so moving on to the fourth one here. I'm going to go down a little bit, jog down so you can see. So 4/16, that's the fourth line over 16 total, right? So we have 4 lines in, and we have 16 total. That's how I'm coming up with my fraction of 4/16. That one needs to be simplified.
1/4.
1/4, thank you. 1/4, okay. And then 5/16, no simplify, no reduce. 6/16 can be reduced to what? Try 2.
3/8.
There you go, 3/8. Perfect. And then 7/16, and I know I'm running out of room here. 7/16 cannot be reduced. That's really hard to read on the camera. So again, the 7th line over 16 can't be reduced. But then we have this real nice halfway mark. And not only do I don't have to count the lines, but they've made the line a little bit larger than all the rest. And I can see that it's halfway. So it's really easy for me to know that this is 8/16. However, that's not how I usually see it, right? I usually know this line as 1/2 because we simplify it into 1/2, right? All right, and then we have 9/16, not able to simplify. 10/16 can be reduced to what? Somebody?
5/8.
5/8, yep, 5/8. So again, when on a test, they ask you, is 6/16 larger or smaller than 5/8? And you're like, I don't know, how do I know, right? Because you get tricked in thinking 5/16 sounds bigger, doesn't it, right? Because they always ask you that on math tests. They always ask you fractions, and they give you those big ones, like 5/16 is bigger or smaller of a measurement than 5/8. Well, now you can refer back to your ruler, hopefully, in these measurements, in these fractions, to help you understand what's bigger, what's smaller, especially once simplified. That 5/8 is bigger than 6/16. All right, 11/16. 12/16 becomes what?
3/4.
3/4. Very good. We have 13/16. Cannot be simplified, right? I wrote on top. 13/16, nothing. Okay. So this 14th line here, I'm going to write down here. 14/16 can be simplified to what?
1/8.
Nope. 1/8 is down here. You're close.
7/8.
Yes.
Sorry.
No, you're right. 7/8. I knew that you knew. You just said it wrong. And last period, to be funny about it, is last period I messed up on that one and I wrote 7/16, and the kids were like, "Wouldn't it be 7/8?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you're right. I didn't do the denominator, did I?" So yeah. Okay, and then 15/16, nothing I can do about that. And then when I get to the big mamma jamma right here, we have 16/16, and we all know that a number over itself becomes what?
A whole
1.
number.
Yeah, 1 whole, right? It becomes 1. So that equals 1. Now, if that's the truth, then why over here do we have a number 2 when there are 16 lines and this one's going to be 16/16? Why is it turned into a 2? What am I doing?
You're just adding 1 to it.
That's right. I'm bringing the 1 with it. So it's 1 plus, right? Because I already have passed this 16. So it's basically 16 sixteenths plus 16 sixteenths, which equals 2. So what the kids forget to do, and I'm pointing this out to you on purpose because on the test, I pick a measurement that is purposely past the 1 because I want you to realize when you start going past the 1, you have to bring the 1 with it. 1 and 1 sixteenths, 1 and 1/8. Okay? You have to put that 1 with it because now you're past it. You've taken 1 with you, 1 block of 16 fractions. 16 over 16 is 1. We bring that with us. Okay? So up here on your ruler that you did, this number right here, make sure it has a 1 and 1/8. A 1 and 1 16th. And then here was number 1. Okay? So super important that you bring that measurement with you so that way we know when we get to 2, we've added 1 inch plus the 1 inch. And then when we get to 3, and we're just adding the measurement increments of the 16 lines, creating more holes, right? Like WHOLES, a whole amount. Okay. At the end of class, I'm going to have you post this with the other exercise that we're going to do, okay? So we are done with the workbook today. We're now going to go to the sketchbook. So grab your sketchbook. Your sketchbook looks like this. Let me zoom back out so you can see the whole deal. Your sketchbook looks like this, okay? And let me talk about where we're headed. Next week, when we start, well, first of all, let's talk about this. You have finished the front side of your worksheet. Between now and next Wednesday, you will complete the worksheet and have it ready to turn in as an assignment to get a grade. So you'll complete it between now and Wednesday. You'll have some drawing time to do on your own time tomorrow during asynchronous time, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday's class. I want to see what you've done so far. And then Tuesday, you'll get to draw some more during asynchronous time as homework. And then Wednesday, you will turn it in as the assignment during class. Okay, so that's what you're working on. Now, before we go there, though, there's a few things we need to learn that we haven't learned yet. When we get to the construction paper, you're going to be taking your designs and drawing them using Sharpie. In the requirements for the project, I'm asking you to have solid black areas. Okay, solid black areas. Where my pencil is at. Solid white areas, like we're not white, but solid negative space where you just have the paper, right? Empty space where the paper is showing through. Those will be your light areas. And then I'm also asking you to put in a gray value. Now, listen very carefully. There's no gray added to this paper. Our gray value is the combination of the paper with black on top, but not completely solid. It's allowing both the paper light to show through and the black application. So it's a balance of using black and the colored paper to create this, we're going to call it our gray value. So we have solid areas that are empty, we have solid black areas, and then we have gray areas. And you're required to have those 3 areas in your design on the construction paper hand. However, I haven't taught you yet how to create shading or value scale using a Sharpie. We've only done value scale using a pencil. So that means I have to show you, and that's where we are today. So the hand, if you're wondering when we're going to get to the construction paper, we will get to the construction paper on Thursday. We will trace our hands, and then we will go from there on Thursday of next week. So keep that safe and sound. This is what I'm talking about, value scales with our Sharpies. So you can see we can learn how to do shading with our Sharpie by putting the Sharpie lines closer together, which would end up in darker shading, opening those lines up to allow for paper to show through, which would end up in lighter values. And continuing that process using things like hatching, cross-hatching, and stippling. And how we use it on form is we can draw a shape, and we can use those different methods of shading, like stippling, cross-hatching, and hatching, to show value scale. Okay? So for our practice and learning how to do value scales with Sharpie, we're going to use our sketchbook. Here's our sketchbook. We're going to open it up. If you've already drawn in it, that's okay. Go to a blank sheet. Okay, this is what we're going to make. We're going to make 6 value scales. I'm going to make it with you so you know how to measure it out. Good news for you is I've done all of the math for us, so you don't have to just do this on your own where you're looking at this and trying to figure it out. We're going to do it together. Excuse me. So take a look. Let's read what we're doing first. Remember how we have to read the art before we make it, or read what we're copying before we copy it. So let's read this. This shouldn't be 1 inch right here. Sorry. This should be 1 inch right here. So you know that these boxes are 1 inch. So these rows, there are 6 of them, giving us 6 value scales to create with our Sharpie. I have measured a 1/2 inch from the top of the page. I have measured a 1/2 inch from the left edge and the right edge, and 3/4 ended up on the bottom by default. Each one of the rows is 1 inch. The space between the rows is 1/2 inch. Okay? So, to get started, this was period 2. To get started, let's go to a fresh piece of paper, because I have to teach this 3 different times, so I have to do it many times. Okay, so we're going to look at our ruler. We're going to find our 1/2 inch. I'm going to zoom in so you can see what we're doing. We're going to find our 1/2 inch mark, which is this line right here. Again, if you forgot, you can count in your numbers. Remember, that's the 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lines in. 8 lines in is my 1/2 inch, because 8/16 reduces to 1/2. Now, do you see the dotted edge along here? The dotted edge to be able to remove the paper. Do you see that dotted edge? That's what we're measuring as our edge. We're going to measure from there. So put your 0 on the dotted edge. Put your 0 on the dotted edge. Make a measurement that is at the 1/2 inch measurement of your ruler. When you make it, don't make a dot. Lightly draw a line extending from that 1/2 inch like this. Make a line extending from the 1/2 inch like this. If you make a dot, when you line up your ruler, do you line it up on the left side of the dot, the right side of the dot, or the middle of the dot? It really makes your line wonky if you have a dot. So we measure using lines, because that's what we're going to draw, is a line. Okay? Move your ruler down. I'm going to zoom out now because you don't need to watch my measurements. You got to watch what I'm doing. Move your ruler down halfway and repeat. So my 0 is on the dotted line. I'm at the halfway mark, and I'm extending the line like that. I'm drawing lightly, so if I mess up, I can erase it and it won't make a mess. Okay? I'm drawing lightly. Obi, Matthew, Josiah, Damien, thank you. Anna, you all here? I think Anna stepped away for a second. I know she's here. She probably has to help her sister. Okay, and then we're going to make one more line. We're going to do 3 lines. That's going to ensure that our ruler will be nice and straight, okay? So 0 and 1/2. Okay, now when you line up your ruler, you want to make sure that you line it up. See, since I'm right-handed, this is going to be hard. So I'm gonna move my paper so I can draw it like this, and it'll be easier with a right-handed movement. So I'm going to line my little lines up with my ruler, but before I draw, I'm going to check for the thickness of my lead. So I'm going to put my lead on the line, and I'm going to put my ruler up against my lead. And I'm going to do that for all 3 marks to make sure that my lead hits at the perfect spot as it rides along my straight edge here. Okay, nice and light. You're making a vertical line on the left side of your spiral sketchbook. Okay. Obi, are you with us? I don't see you. Okay. So let's take another read of the previous page of where I had it done so you could see. Let's take another read of what we need to do. So we made this line right here. Let's make the right-hand side next. So we're going to make this border next. And as you can see from my guide, it is it is half inch from the right side edge. Okay, so I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to measure half inch. Make sure you're on the inch side, not the centimeters. Inch. Okay, one right there, half inch. I'm going to make one line here. Make sure you're on the edge of your paper. This is hard to get under the camera here. So half inch. And I'm going to do that 3 times just like I did before. Top, middle, and bottom. Half inch, making lines, not dots. Little lines, not dots. So I can match up my lines. Okay. And then put your ruler vertically up against those lines. Double check the thickness of your lead, making sure that it rides right on that line that you drew. Okay. And draw lightly that nice half inch line. If it is crooked, check your measurements. Don't continue on with a crooked line. This is the outline box for the rectangle we're making. And if it starts crooked, guess what? The rest of it will continue to be crooked. So check your measurements. If you see it slanting, check. Is it truly a half inch or did it go off a little bit? And if it went off, that's okay. Erase it and fix it. Right now, we can make those mistakes and easily fix them and correct them. It's going to be much harder to fix it when the whole thing is done and it's all crooked. So double check your measurements. Is everything a half inch from the bottom to the top? Bottom to the top. Check those measurements. Okay, the next read. Let's take a look at what we have next. So from the top, I have another half inch measurement. So now I'm going to make my first horizontal line. Okay, so from the top of my book, let me zoom in. So from the top of the sketchbook, I'm going to set the 0 at the top edge of the paper, and I'm going to mark the half inch line horizontally like that. And I'm going to do it twice. This time, it's a shorter amount of space, so I only have to have 2 measurements. The minimum amount of measurements before you draw is 2. You must always have at least 2 measurements, then draw. Okay? We did 3 for the vertical line because it was really big. I'm going to turn this so it's easier for me to connect those 2. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to connect those 2 now again, checking for my lead and drawing to the point where I see it touch the previous 2 vertical lines. And I'm going to erase anything that's out of bounds, making sure the top is nice and square, 2 90-degree angles at the top. So it looks like this. Anna, did you have to help your sister or somebody? Whoop, Just had to step away for a second. No, video just wasn't working. You okay? Okay. All right. As long as you're okay. Sandra, did you have a question?
Yeah, what are the two top measurements that you use on the ruler?
Two top, right here?
Uh-huh.
1/2 inch.
1/2 inch, okay.
Yeah. So here, I'll take it back so you can see. So it's a 1/2 inch from the edge of the top to the first line that's here.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so this is a 1/2 inch right here, 1/2 inch from the top. So far, what we've done is repeated that, right, 3 times. We have a 1/2 inch here. We have a 1/2 inch here. You don't have to write this down. I'm just writing it down for those that maybe need extra help or are falling behind. Whoa, my camera went in too far. You have a 1/2 inch around all of the spaces. Okay, so 1/2 inch. And remember, this 1/2 inch on the left is from the dotted line here, not from the spiral. Obi, I still can't see you, so I don't know if you're working with us. Okay. There you are. Are you working with us? You're drawing, doing this in the sketchbook with us? Is that a yes, Obi? Okay, cool. All right, so our next line here, we have, I keep putting it upside down. We have 1 inch. So from the horizontal line that we made, we have 1 inch, 1 inch. Okay, so this is our first big one. So 1 inch, this is gonna be our first row. Our first row, we're gonna make 6 rows of 1 inch spaces with a 1/2 inch in between them. So we'll have 5 1/2 inch spaces and 6 1 inch spaces. So this was 1 inch. So 1 inch. You don't have to write it. I'm just writing the number there so you guys know if you're behind how I did, how much space I measured. So 1 inch. And I can see that I messed that up because I did it away from my eyeballs. So again, if it's crooked, you can see that it's not the right measurement. Fix it now because all of those rows will be crooked if you don't fix it now. So 1 inch space, just like that. Okay, that's our first row. It's 1 inch. Okay, the next space is 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch. Because take a look. This is what we're doing. We're doing 1 inch, 1/2 inch. 1 inch, 1/2 inch. Okay, don't worry about the vertical lines with the boxes. Don't worry about that. We're making the rows. So look at the pattern. 1/2, 1/2, 1/2, and we continue that process. So if your head has already wrapped around how to do this, continue on. If you're lost, continue to follow with me. Okay? If you already figured it out, you can make them all without my help. For those that have still some need to work with me, we are now making the 1/2 inch space between the 1 inch rows. Okay, so 1 inch, then now 1/2 inch. Again, line up your 2 dots, your 2 lines, and draw on those lines to create a 1/2 inch space. 1/2 inch space. I turn it just because it's easier to draw that line going that direction. Okay, so 1/2 inch. So this is a 1/2 inch here too. 1/2 inch. Then I'll repeat. I'm just going to repeat that same thing. 1 inch, 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 1/2 inch. Okay, so it's not anything hard now. It's everything that we've done. We're repeating now. You've learned all the steps. Just repeat them now. And your goal is to make sure that you're using the ruler, which is our tool for today, the way it's supposed to be used, to make straight lines. How do you make straight lines? You measure twice, check your measurements, then draw. It only works if you use the tool right. Placing it on there without measurements isn't going to work. You have to measure, and you can't rush it. You got to do it right, not rushed. 1/2 inch, okay? Keep repeating. 1 inch, 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 1/2 inch. You're drawing lightly so you can erase if you make a mistake. Don't draw super dark. Don't press in, make your pencil black. Okay, 1 inch, 1/2 inch. Continue. I'm doing it with you so you can see me do it if you get stuck, but I'm also doing it with you because it tells me how much time it's going to take for this to be done, because you're supposed to be doing it with me, which means we're all on the same page, we're doing the same thing. When I finish, you should be very close to finished, if not finished before me. If you're wondering why my book the lines look different, is because I turned it so I could see it better. So it's this direction when I'm done. Looks like this. 1 inch, 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 1/2 inch, 1 inch. I've already made 3 1-inch rows. I need to make 3 more. If you're ahead of me, great, because we have one more thing to do to complete this today. Why does that keep happening? So again, check your measurement. Make sure it's right there. The line, the 0 is on that line. And your lines match up with the thickness of your lead. Lightly put in those lines. Fix it as you go. Don't fix it at the end. Fix it as you go. So I have 4 1-inch rows. I have 2 more to make. 2 more to make. So that's where you should be with me. Okay, remember the drill. 1 inch, 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 1/2 inch. Just stick to that plan. Double check your work. If it doesn't look right, double check it. Should look good. Nice and straight, nice and even, measured well. Not crooked, because you're double checking your work. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Okay, got 6 down. So I'm going to give you a couple minutes to catch up to me. This is what it should look like. 1 inch, half inch, 1 inch, half inch. So small row, big row. Just repeat it. You should have 6 large rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 large rows. How are we doing out there? Good? Okay. All right, good, good. Nice. Damien. We will post these on Padlet towards the end of class. So just hold on. We still have our squares to make. So take a look here. The final piece is to divide each of the rows into 6 1-inch squares. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 1-inch squares. Okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to take your ruler from one edge to the other edge. Now, if your ruler doesn't end on the 6 on this back side, it ends on the 15th, 5 and 15th, 16th. That's okay. Don't worry about it, okay? What I want you to do is I want you to line up the 0 on the left, and I want you to mark at the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4, and the 5. Move your ruler down to the next large row, 1-inch row. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay? And then use your ruler vertically, connect those 2 marks, and draw a line only in the 1-inch row. Skip the half-inch row. So draw from here, skip, draw. But this way we know our line will be straight because we have 2 measurements. Remember, the minimum is 2 measurements to go off of. 1, 2. Skip that half inch. Don't draw on there. You can erase it if you accidentally do, but try not to. That way you don't have that extra work to do later. Okay? So draw the vertical lines in the rows to create boxes. You should have 6 boxes. The very last box is a little bit, 1/16 of an inch smaller than the rest. Not a big deal. It won't be a big deal once we get all the black in there. Okay? So this is what they need to look like. 1-inch spaces in each of the 1-inch rows. Skip the half-inch barrier between the rows. Okay? So 1 inch, 2, 3, 4, 5. I may go to the next one. Remember, I'm doing 2 at a time so I can make sure that my ruler is straight. I'm only worried about making sure that my ruler starts at the 0 on the left-hand side, and I mark the 1, the 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I line it up just like I did before. I draw just in the row that I need the line in, which is the large 1-inch row. Do not draw in the half-inch area. That is going to be for titles. All right, so here we are. This is what it should look like when you're finished. You should have 6 rows that are 1 inch with 1-inch boxes in each one. 6 1-inch boxes in each one. you should have 5 half-inch little rows between the 6 large rows, correct? Okay, so this is what I need you to do. I need you to take a picture of this and put it on Padlet to show me that you did it. I also need you to take a picture of the ruler worksheet that you did in your workbook this morning with me and show me that you did it. Even if it's done wrong, I still want to see it. It's your proof to show me that you're participating in class and that you understand what I'm showing you. So again, to be clear, your homework between now and Monday is to do your hand drawing and be able to post it on Padlet to show me on Monday where you're at so I can make suggestions and help you. And if you're ready to turn it in on Monday, you can. If you're not ready to turn it in on Monday, you have till Wednesday as your due date to give it to me as a final drawing and worksheet. But on Monday, I expect the majority of it to be done so I can look at it and give you some extra help if needed. So your job, your homework between now and Monday is to work on the drawing of your hand on the back side of the worksheet that you filled out. And be ready to turn it in on Wednesday as a final grade for the worksheet, front and back. You'll attach it to the assignment on Wednesday as your final grade for that worksheet. On Monday, we will be continuing on these value scales. We'll take a look at some pictures like I showed you from that worksheet that I had underneath, this worksheet here. And we'll take a look at these value scales and we'll use our Sharpies and we will create these value scales in the scales that we made. Okay? You can title it like you see here. I have my title, my Sharpie value scales. Okay, so there's the title of what this drawing is going to be. All right, we've got 10 minutes left. I'm going to switch gears. Did everybody get a picture of this who needed it? Because I'm going to move my screen, turn off my screen to something else real quick. I'm going to bring it to Padlet so I can show you. So if you need a picture of this, take it. I'll give you a minute. If you need to get your phone or whatever, give you a minute to do that. So again, if you think you're going to need a picture of this, take the picture so you have it. So here's our Padlet, and it shows you, I've got Albert's, very nice. Ira, very nice. Sierra, very nice. Huang, nice job. Angie, good. Andrew, I've got your ruler, nice. Huang, got your ruler, good. Cynthia, nice job. This is what we're doing. And it's due today on Padlet, so this and the ruler picture. Have a good weekend. If you're done and you don't need me and you know what you need to do for homework.